Good morning. It's Wifey Wake Up No Makeup podcast, and we're getting rolling a little bit later today. Sorry about that, but I was just kind of absorbed into this topic, and I wanted to give it time to soak and come out. And so we're getting started a little bit later than usual, but I feel it's a good one. So first of all, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. If something comes up for you, a story, especially I love the stories and anecdotes. Those are wonderful too. And guys, if this is hitting home, if this is something you're like, boy, I wish all women knew this, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share as well. Your support can help get this message out there as well. So good morning, everybody. It's the Wifey Wake Up No Makeup podcast. And some mornings I feel especially naked without makeup. I don't know. I think it can be the lighting and all this and so forth. So let's get rolling though. So the topic today is vows, or vow, as you may see. And I just love, it's so intriguing to me to look up definitions of words. And I think part of it happened as I was learning other languages, which is just one of my things. I just love learning and other languages and being in other cultures and learning. You learn about yourself so much when you're in those other environments and literally speaking in another language. But as I was learning, particularly German and Portuguese and Spanish, I mean, they all teach you a little something different. And one of the things that I learned is how much I didn't know English. And so since then, I've, if a word just, it doesn't feel like I really know it, I look up the definition. And so that's what I'm doing here too. And I think we use the word vow, we say wedding vows, I'm writing my vows and so forth. And we, kind of what it means, but what's fascinating is I think we use a lot of words that we don't really know deep down what they mean. So here we go. A vow, according to Merriam-Webster, is a solemn promise or assertion. Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of times in these definitions, there's another word that we need to look up. And by we, I mean me. So I looked up solemn. And it is also defined by Merriam-Webster. 1, marked by invocation of a religious sanction. 2, marked by observation of established form of ceremony. And 3, A, awe-inspiring. B, marked by grave sedateness. I might have mistyped that. And earnest sobriety. And C, somber or gloomy. And on target. I need to take a little drink of water. Just a moment. We'll be touching on all of these definitions, which was interesting. Wasn't my plan, but like I said, this was just really coming to me this morning. So I think we all have heard that the divorce rate for those who are in their first marriages is over 50%. And for those in subsequent marriages, it's even higher. So we could link that to a lot of things, but part of me wonders if we really know these days what a vow is. And well, that's why we're exploring this. For me, I think that a vow is something that's very, as the definition entails, is something very solemn. I was raised Catholic and not like super religious, what one might call a sprinkle Christian or sprinkle Catholic, maybe a little bit more than that. But basically, you'd go for someone's baptism, you went for your own baptism, you went on the holidays. At least in the Catholic Church, they have some holidays where they sprinkle the holy water. And that's about it. Now, I think I went a little bit more than that. It was something that I took very solemnly, would be the appropriate word. And maybe just part of my personality or God's grace that it really just sank in with me. Like I really felt that I do have a connection with God. And I think there's something particular that I've learned since about the Catholic faith is that they have the sacraments, and the sacraments are specific. I don't know what you call them. I should have looked up this definition also, but baptism would be a sacrament. First communion, your confirmation would also be if you get married, if you choose to go into church service, particularly being a priest is what I mean, or a nun might also be, holy rites, it might be the one. And one is also when you pass is last rites. And I might have passed my quiz. There might be one more in there, but I think that's all of them. So you don't necessarily go through all the sacraments necessarily, but you may go through most of them in your life. And I think by naming these kind of phases in life, these in your life of faith, it puts an extra solemnness or solemnity on those key moments in life. And so to me, growing up, I saw marriage as the sacrament. And of course, being raised Catholic, it would be like, that's, you get one chance, right? And I think what was good about that is I didn't take it as something to be taken lightly, right? It was, to me, it was a forever occurrence. It was one thing that I did one time, but it is forever. And I think that having that deep reverence makes the vow then, when you do the act, is much, much more solid. Okay. Also take a chance to read what I wrote below, because it came together a lot differently. A lot of times these come out together a lot differently when I write them as opposed to when I'm talking them out. So maybe I'll share a little bit about our wedding. So we had a very small wedding. It was less, it might've been like 13 people. It was very small, close friends and family, of course. We were married out in a local park. It was November in Minnesota, and we did have a little bit of snow on the ground. And what was also very special is that my then to become mother-in-law, she actually made the dinner, something that Martha Stewart would have been very proud of, and hosted it at their house. My sister-in-law, who had just had a baby a couple months prior, decorated. And it was just a very quaint, special event. My husband wore his dad's suit. I wore my mom's wedding dress. The most we spent ourselves, or I think that was spent, was probably the food, of course, and the flowers. The only thing I wish I would have changed, done differently, is I wish we had hired a professional photographer. So that's just kind of a note. If you're wondering what you think is worth spending the money on, I do think that could have helped preserve the day a little bit better. So my point is that we really were focused on the day, that us getting married. It wasn't to us a big party. And I'm absolutely amazed sometimes when I hear what people spend on weddings. And sometimes I can get it. For us, we didn't want to go into debt. We wanted to start our life and just keep going and not spend our money on the wedding necessarily. There is one way, however, that I can see when and why to spend a lot of money on a wedding. And although I'm not condoning it, I'm just saying this is for the sake of the argument, so to speak. Getting back to vows. So I think that we've lost touch of what a vow is. And I think part of that is many of us don't take religion or faith seriously. And also we're not as close to our families, that family unit, that family friends unit, as we used to be. And so that used to be the center of everything in your life. And so when you would swear in front of God, your friends, and your family, that really meant something. You were committed to and by God and the people that were around you every day. And so if you slipped, you would have, people would see that, right? They knew the vows that you said in front of them, in front of your future spouse, and in front of God. So in one way, I can see having a big wedding and celebrating having a large party. And that would be having that group of people around you to love and support you and be witnesses to your vows. I remember back in the pandemic days, I remember doing FaceTimes with my adorable goddaughters. And they're that sweet age where the early elementary school age where, things are still so new and precious to them. And they understand just enough of reality, right? And so we would FaceTime, and they just loved our kitties. And of course, would have loved to have been in person, snuggling and petting them. But you would be amazed at how much they were present even over the screen. I would show them the kitties, and they especially liked our one kitty who has long fur. She's a tortie. Her name is Maggie. And I swear, you could just see the hearts coming out of their eyes. It was adorable. And I was able to get a few screenshots while we were doing the FaceTime, fortunately. And later I sent their mom a picture with little hearts around their faces, because it was as if those hearts were actually coming out of their eyes. And I share that because imagine at your wedding, whether you've had your wedding or not, you're surrounded by your friends and family, and it's like those heart beams are coming out of their eyes and their heart. And that's one way I can see spending a lot on a wedding, just to have that loving energy, that those blessings around you, and have that support as well. And so I don't know if you have to spend a ton of money. Of course, having a lot of people at your wedding and paying for food and so forth can cost a lot. But that is one way I can see that it would be worth having that big celebration, and hopefully without losing the true meaning of the joining of two people. And it's more real than you may think, that a wedding, when you get married, it's actually two people becoming one. And it's such a blessed moment, really. I mean, we think of a sperm and an egg uniting and becoming a human being, and how absolutely amazing that is, which it is. But what's absolutely amazing about two adults, two people becoming one, is that it's a choice. I think they're both guided by God in some amazing way. But what's different about two human beings marrying each other and choosing to become one is that it's a choice. And in the majority of cases, I think, in our Western world. And so it's actually quite a magical moment. So I went through some vows, Christian vows, to just kind of compare, pull out some key words that were very common. And in the description below, I share the link of where I got this, the Martha Stewart article that I got this from. And there are some interesting commonalities, but these are some words that I think would be, even as I was contemplating them, preparing this podcast, it opens up kind of a portal of love, in a way, and insight into what it is to vow to another person, to be married. And I think they're really worth contemplating. So there's a lot of commonalities, right? We all know from movies and going to weddings, the more common Christian vows, and you'll hear them in these words, but there are some variances, and there's some additional words that I think are very interesting. And so you can go to the article to read each one of them, but I pulled out the words that I thought that would be great to just let sink in. So listen to these. Loving and faithful, to have and hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, and also, this is interesting, in plenty and in want, in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do us part. And then At the ring exchange, here are some interesting commonalities as well. A symbol of my love and faithfulness. I honor you. Constant faith and abiding love. And so, like I said, these were all from Christian vows. I think it'd be interesting to compare non-denominational or non-Christian as well, but I wanted to compare apples to apples. And I invite you to allow these words to soak in over the day or the week. Reminisce about your wedding, maybe imagine your future wedding, and what does it mean to stand on that altar in front of God, in front of your friends and family, and profess those words. Maybe you're writing your own vows. Maybe this will influence what your vows will be. But really taking in how sacred that act, that moment that becomes a lifetime, how sacred it is. And could we decrease the divorce rate if simply we just took these words as being more sacred and solemn? Is that the remedy? I'm not sure, but I think it's worth a try. So let me know what comes to your mind today as you contemplate those words, and would love to hear from you and your thoughts on the sacredness of vows and maybe how you've considered them, or did it change your mind? Take care and have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.